Welcome to Jersey Matters. I'm Larry Menti. We are outside Atlantic City's historic Boardwalk Hall, the home of the Miss America pageant. But tomorrow night, it will be the home of the State of the City address with Atlantic City's new mayor, Frank Gilliam, talking about Atlantic City's comeback. We'll have an interview with the mayor in just 1 minute. Also on today's show, offshore wind turbines are coming to a shore resort near you. We'll talk about how many jobs that's going to mean for the state. And it's that time of year again. Meet the inductees to this year's New Jersey Hall of Fame. Our Kimberly Kravitz is on the red carpet. But now, our interview with Atlantic City's new mayor, Frank Gilliam. Thanks for doing this, sir. I really appreciate it, and congratulations on your election.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming down.
So you've gone through your 100 days now dealing with the state takeover. You objected to it from the beginning, the state takeover from the beginning. You objected to it when you were taking office. You called it plantation-style government, which seemed harsh. You bemoaned the lack of power that the mayor would have. Since you've been here for a few months now, is it as bad as you thought?
Yes, it is as draconian as I thought it was. I'm very optimistic, and that will change because I'm not having to deal with the likes of a Chris Christie and his objectives that he had towards Atlantic City. But again, it's still a bizarre way to govern because, again, naturally when you're elected by the people, you would think that I am representing my workers, which is my employees, which are the people. That's not the case. Right now, we're still figuring out the new relationship. We still have some of the remnants of the former administration that's still in Atlantic City, but we're working it out. It's a newness, and I think it's a newness to New Jerseyans because I believe that I'm the first elected mayor to ever basically be elected under total state ownership, right? So when I say a plantation style, it was a plantation because when you have an outsider, particularly a state that when you look at and how they were chartered to assist municipalities. And we found ourselves, meaning the city of Atlantic City, found ourselves in the crosshairs of administration that wanted to do everything but help assist the city of Atlantic City.
But plantation style would mean that the owners of the plantation are using people on the plantation to profit for themselves. And
Absolutely.
then you also mentioned about Chris Christie's objective, that you objected to Chris Christie's objective. What do you believe his objective was? And since you called it plantation style, was he trying to profit for himself? Was the state trying to profit off the back of Atlantic City?
Well, if you look at the history of Atlantic City and its economics, the state definitely profits off the city of Atlantic City. We do not receive luxury tax. We do not receive parking tax. We do not receive room tax. So if you were to stay here and go to a show and have a drink and park in one of the parking lots, the city of Atlantic City gets zero. We get no money from that. So that's in around $80 to $90 million a year that the state takes, which again has Atlantic City constantly trying to juggle a budget that's almost impossible to balance. Then you also have the ability for the state to take $300 million out of Atlantic City per year, and I don't see where we've actually benefited from the $300 million.
You haven't benefited at all from the takeover? It's because there's some people that have written that the takeover was good for Atlantic City. It should end, but it was good in the short run for Atlantic City.
Well, I beg to differ. I think that municipalities, if given the right tools and the right support, they can find themselves out of the dark days. And when you really think about Atlantic City's financial situation, there was no one in God's green earth that could have forecasted 4 casinos closing, ending up having the city lose over $18 billion in ratables. You can't just make that up through cuts and things of that nature, or even getting aid from the state. That's something that the state of New Jersey and the city of Atlantic City would have to sit at the table and configure a new formula.
You have a better relationship with the new administration?
Absolutely. We have a very favorable relationship with the new administration.
However, the new governor, when he was campaigning, said he didn't like the takeover and he was going to get rid of the takeover. 100 days in, he hasn't gotten rid of the takeover. As a matter of fact, it looks like it's going to continue under him, at least for the short term. Do you have any indication that it's going to end?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We will regain some form of normalcy.
So in the future, you won't have to go to the state to ask for a federal grant for your firefighters?
Correct.
That was turned down.
That was turned down, which was also a way that we see how state should not be the entity making decisions for municipalities.
How much is that going to hurt? Talk about the citizens of Atlantic City. There's no danger that they didn't get to hire more firefighters?
No, there's no danger. The Atlantic City firefighters had agreed that the 180 firefighters was the number. Currently, we are up at 191. The other thing that I have to make sure that I'm working with the state on is to change their perspective in the narrative. The former narrative with Governor Christie was they have too many. They're only a 40,000 person town, and they should not have that many police or fire. But that's if we're only policing and securing 40,000 people. But on any given day, we have anywhere from 160 to 165,000 people in Atlantic City. So again, Atlantic City is not one of those comparing apples to apples to towns that have the comparable amount of residents, but no one has a town that's 24 hours. No one has casinos. There's no other 48 blocks that have over 25 million people coming and visiting that
your
particular
population explodes during the summer. You can't
Absolutely.
go by the population that's here, but the population that shows up.
In addition to that, right, we're bringing in the university, which is going to bring more children and more professionals. We're bringing in South Jersey industry, which is going to bring in more people. Our job, and my perspective, is for us to basically make sure we redevelop the waterfronts, which is also bringing in more investment, more people. So again, we can't be looking at getting stuck in this ideology or this concept of they have too much, right?
I want to get to some other topics,
Yes.
Including the fact that you look at legalized marijuana as a way of bringing some revenue into the city when we continue our conversation with Atlantic City Mayor Frank Gilliam, when Jersey Matters continues right after this.